astral projection, the ability of a person's spirit to travel to different places. Wikipedia also defines it as a term used to describe an intentional, I would add also unintentional, out-of-body experience that assumes the existence of a subtle body known as the astral body or body of light, through which consciousness can function separately from the physical body and travel throughout the astral plane. Astral projection is the premise of the Insidious movies, which, if you've never seen them, follow a family where the son and the dad actually astral project without their knowledge. The dad when he was younger, and the son, who was probably maybe about 9, 10, he does it and just thinks he's dreaming. So basically in the movies, the son gets stuck in the astral plane, and his family doesn't really know what's wrong with him. He's just it seems like a vacant body. And so the dad pretty much has to tap into his ability to do that and go rescue his son. So today I wanted to kind of talk about my experience with that. Basically just one time, one story, and that's it. Because once you hear my story, you will, and if you've ever seen the movies, it's not something to play with, and it's definitely not something I would recommend you trying to do on your own, unless you have really thoroughly studied it and probably had someone guide you on how to do it. So when I was in my mid to late, probably mid 20s, I worked for a health company, and I was dog sitting for one of the ladies that worked there. And I always felt weird staying in her house. Like the dogs were sweet. It was an old dog and then a young dog, both like poodles or something, but they never really reacted to anything in the house. But I always felt like a presence, and the lady was really nice. Like, she seemed very sweet. Like, as far as I know, she was a Christian, so it didn't seem like there was any reason for any kind of entity or anything to be hanging around her house. But I always felt something, like when it would get dark. And so I would always either like invite people over to come stay with me, or I would just make sure, regardless, even if I invited people over or what, I would always make sure that I didn't watch any scary movies, or anything that might potentially pop up in my mind while I was there, like the week before and the week leading up to it. So I would usually be there for probably almost about a week, pretty much every time. So it was a long time for me to be there, to have to pretty much be scared every night. So I'd put the dogs in bed or whatever, and then I would go downstairs to my room where I was staying, her little spare bedroom, I guess it was technically in the basement, but it was always really dark down there and stuff, which I like dark rooms, so I always slept really well there. But I never really got up in the middle of the night. I pretty much just closed the door and stayed in the room that I was in. So one night, and mind you, I had watched the Insidious movies a long time ago. And like I said, I never watched anything leading up to the time when I knew I was going to be dog sitting for her. So it wasn't like it was on the front line of my memory or anything. But it was one night that I just was in a very deep sleep. Like, I was pretty much dead to the world, and I'm already a deep sleeper. So if I'm asleep, the whole house could blow down and I probably wouldn't hear it. But and especially because her house was really dark, I always slept really well there, which was good because I would be scared all the time. So I just remember being in a very deep sleep, and I woke up, but I didn't really wake up because I was like hovering above my body and looking down at myself still laying in bed. And it's a very weird feeling because I still felt very much connected to my body. And it wasn't like I was going to explore anything. I was still in the room. I hadn't gone to outside or anything like that. But I could see myself. And I know that sometimes you see yourself in dreams, but it's more so like first person, like you're seeing what you're seeing in the dreams versus you actually seeing your body in the dreams. So that's what was my first clue to make me realize, hey, this is not a dream. Like this is something else. And I mean, in the past, I've seen like ghosts before, I think, or what people would call ghosts. I don't particularly believe that ghosts are the spirits of dead people, just because I feel like once you're dead, you pass on to wherever we go after we die. So I mean, I've seen what I think was an entity kind of conjured up by a lot of turmoil and tension in my parents' old house, just because of things that were going on there. So I've seen that. And then my mother, she also said that she saw something, and what that was it was not it was really just a figure, male, female. I thought it was a man just because of how tall it was, or what, and the shape of it. But I mean, I couldn't really see any distinguishing features, but it wasn't threatening. It wasn't scary. Like, I walked past it, went to my room, and I was fine. It was just kind of there. And so that had, prior to this experience, had been my only real experience with anything paranormal, for the most part. I mean, I think I've always been sensitive to things. Like, even just people, like, I've been very wary of some people, just because I feel like some people just give off bad energy or bad vibes, if that's what you want to call it. So I've always kind of, I don't really tune into any of it, other than just my ability to kind of sense if a person is for me or against me. But so basically, when this situation happened, it had been years ago that I was living in my parents' house. I was probably 16, 17, 18. So from 16 to 24, 25, I really had no experience with anything paranormal at all. So when this situation happened, it was like I automatically knew that, hey, this isn't just a dream, because I've had vivid dreams. I've had the dreams where you're falling and then you wake up. I've never seen myself die in dreams. I've always heard that was bad, but I've had pretty vivid, and I've had dreams that will continue. I once dreamed of that I was in the movie Chronicles of Narnia, and I dreamed one night and got to a certain point. The next night, I was able to continue it. Don't know how I did it. Have never been able to do it since. Pretty much like this situation, something that just happened, and I literally had no control over it. But so when I realized that I was floating above my body, I kind of looked around the room, and I know in the movie Insidious, the little demon that's trying to get into the boy, he's like up in the corner. So in the corner of the room, like in the dark, where you kind of can't really see him, but you just see kind of a figure. So I saw something. Like, it wasn't shaped like the little demon thing in the movie. It was more like just, it wasn't even really shaped like a person. It was more so just like a dark form. Kind of like when you see a shadow at night, and you can tell that it's a figure, it's something, but you can't really distinguish any features. So basically I saw that, and something just told me, like, you need to get back in your body, because you were this thing. Because this thing is trying to get into your body, and if that happens, who knows what is going to happen after that, and who knows where you're gonna end up. And so it was like a race between me and the thing to get back inside my body. And so I ended up doing it, but when I tell you, I was that is the most scared I've ever been in my entire life, to the point where I am, because I felt like the thing was still in the room. So I was scrambling to like find my phone or turn on a light switch or something. And I slept with the lights on the rest of that night. But I didn't really like research it or try to figure out what it could be. And I've not tried to do that since, because like I said, I feel like that is the spiritual realm is, which I definitely believe that it exists. I don't just believe that we die and that there's nothing. But it's dangerous. Like, we know nothing about it. If you believe the Bible, the demons, seraphims, there's a whole bunch of other stuff in this world that we don't really see on a day-to-day basis. I think some people do interact with them, some knowingly and some unknowingly. But I think for the most part, we just go about our daily lives, and we probably go past these things, interact with them unknowingly, and don't even realize it. So I like I said, I've never done it since. I've thought about trying to see how to do it, but I mean, that was enough to scare anybody off from trying that. Because and my thing is, what if that is something that is not necessarily following me around, but kind of waiting to see if I'm going to pretty much do it again. And I mean, there's no telling what it was. I mean, it could have been anything. But that was my little paranormal experience. I'm gonna start trying to do more of these episodes and get back to doing them once a week again. I have found different interesting articles and stuff that I just haven't recorded anything. But hopefully you guys will find that interesting, and I would love to hear some of you guys spiritual encounters if you've had any. I'm very interested in that stuff, only to the point where I may read a little bit of it and then kind of let it go, just because of the experience that I've had. And I always say a lot of people are into witchcraft and all this other stuff, and casting spells and all those other things. And I would just caution you, because I feel like if you have never really experienced anything, then you should probably leave it alone, because it's not something to play with. You don't really, unless you are trained by someone who actually knows what they're doing, you don't know what you're doing. So it's probably best that you just leave it alone.